Hey, I promised we'd do this in a bit more detail, so let's look more closely at the idea of attack surfaces and attack vectors. This is huge. So an attack surface is the landscape that a hacker sees when analyzing how they are going to infiltrate a company and break into their IT system. They've studied all the vulnerabilities and they've looked at that attack surface. The cyber criminal, having seen that attack surface, they will have identified a number of methods which would potentially allow them to breach the network defense of that company. Now, those methods of entry are called attack vectors. So an attack vector is the method which the cyber criminal is going to use, which has the best chance of carrying out the most successful attack. In their mind, the chosen route, which will give them the best chance of a success, is an attack vector. These attack vectors can be passive, which means that they don't try and break the network or IT system, but focus more on getting through by other means. As we've mentioned, and I hope you're getting to grips with this now, that some of them bypass the technology. So those are passive attack vectors, things like phishing emails, social engineering scams. I'm just calling from the IT department, and we're just refreshing everyone's account here at the server. We just need you to confirm your latest username and password for us, please, so we can enter it into the system. Many thanks. That sort of thing. Or, of course, the attack vector can be active, which means that the attacker will actively be trying to break the IT system in some way, such as locking up your computer or planting malicious software into your computer in some way. Understanding the whole spectrum of attack vectors, therefore, is fundamental for you. You need to understand the language they speak and all of these attack vectors so that you can fully appreciate what security professionals actually get up to and what sort of attacks they prevent and how they build a solid defense against bad actors. So let's now see what is in the arsenal of cyber criminals and how they get behind the defenses of most IT systems. So what are the most common attack vectors that hackers are on the lookout for? Well, it won't surprise you that the first one is weak usernames and passwords. Of course, this should come as no surprise. The reason why so many huge corporations, especially social media companies with a large global user base, are the target of attacks is because they're a massive mine of passwords and usernames. And hackers know that those same passwords and usernames, once they're stolen, can be used to carry out a whole range of damage. Once acquired, they can be rapidly programmed into bots, and those bots will then try and hack all other accounts pertaining to that user with those passwords and usernames. So suddenly, all accounts from your online bank account to your Amazon shopping account to an airline portal can be rapidly tested once they have your username and password. And it's done very, very quickly. Of course, if the passwords you're using are weak in the first place, the stuff I mentioned earlier about using passwords with no numbers or special characters, the attacker doesn't even need to go up anything fancy on something like a heavily guarded Facebook server. They can simply play around with any account you have, just pretending to be you. And if your password is weak, a simple brute force program can crack into your account, as we mentioned earlier. For these reasons, of course, two-factor authentication is becoming more and more popular. That process of using two different devices to verify each other. Nowadays, there's also the increased use of password managers along with biometric verification as well. And in that way, you can dramatically reduce the chance of hackers getting into any of your accounts.